Sienna God, hello all. Oshtisahiya, good evening and Wado, thank you for watching. So this is day 53 of Transformation of America, the true life story of a CIA mind control slave by Kathy O'Brien with Mark Phillips. And we are on chapter 24 of Kathy's story called Hunting We Will Go. On December 4th, 1986, I turned 29 years old. Usually mind-controlled slaves were discarded, thrown from the freedom train at 30, but I argued with Houston when he told me my government abusers only had 1 year left to use me up. Okie doke. I had had no conscious awareness of the passing of time and believed I was still only 24. Gosh, that's a shocker. Regardless of what I believed, my abusers did their best to use me up physically and psychologically before even a month had passed. I was in Washington, D.C. on a routine trip, which included being prostituted to President Reagan. Uncle Ronnie's cheeks were flushed from excitement and cognac as he told me, I always take 2 weeks off for Christmas to go back to California. Reagan interrupted himself to break into an old Hollywood-style song and dance. California, here I come. The White House, he claimed, had always been confining to him, and he appeared genuinely excited about his upcoming trip. I look forward to this trip every year because I get to see old friends. Oh, I still work while I'm there. The president's work is never done, but at least I'm there. It's about time you see where I call home. Then quoting the Wizard of Oz, he said, there's no place like home, and you're about to see why. Say it with me. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Then he instructed me in Oz cryptic, click your heels. There's no place like home. Blue-white light seemingly exploded in my brain like being hit with a deadly low-voltage AC electrical current. Reagan was setting the stage for an attempted mind-scrambling time slip to be reactivated in an upcoming meeting I would have with him in Bel Air, California. The motorhome was packed to the walls, and the walls were packed with cocaine as Houston, Kelly, and I departed on our long drive to California. Houston had planned several tourist stops along the way that proved as nightmarish as the California ordeal itself. In Las Vegas, Nevada, Houston kept Kelly and me busy prostituting us to everyone he knew in the know and in attendance at the Country Music Association's annual convention. Weary of being sent from room to room, I was back in the lobby, literally trying to catch my breath when I saw Michael Dante, D-A-N-T-E, with that little italicis or whatever it's called over it. He was dressed in an expensive light gray silk suit and dark glasses, looking more like a Fed than a mobster leaning on a post waiting for me. Our love, he professed over the phone for mind conditioning purposes, was certainly not apparent now. You're late, he growled as he looked at his watch. He ordered me into the ladies' room to activate programming by having me lose myself in the infinity mirrors that lined the walls with my mind set like he wanted. He then used and directed me in commercial pornography. Later, he did the same with Kelly at the Grand Canyon. Houston traumatized Kelly and me in preparation for the upcoming events in California. While hiking down the canyon, Houston attempted to anchor hypnotically all of the trip's events behind the death and insanity programming to which he was subjecting us. When we stopped for a late afternoon lunch in the canyon, Kelly collapsed in a state of shock, unable to eat. Houston was pleased because he got to eat it all himself. I was, as usual, undergoing the food and water deprivation. I was so thirsty I could not think to eat. Kelly's condition magnified my own terrified state, and I did all I could to keep Houston from supposedly pushing her over the edge. I carried her for hours all the way out of the canyon without pausing to rest. In my own mind, I wanted to believe I was actually able to protect her. The fact was, Houston was wearing me down physically to ensure that I could not protect her at our next destination. Okay. Lake/Mount Shasta, California. George Bush was highly active in both the Lampe, Missouri, and Shasta, California retreat compounds. Just like Lampe, Shasta's cover was country music. According to everyone I knew, singer and songwriter Merle Haggard supposedly ran the show at Lake Shasta, diverting any and all attention from the nearby Mount Shasta compound. Shasta was the largest covert mind control slave camp of which I am aware, hidden in the wooded hills, military fencing corrals, an enormous fleet of unmarked black helicopters, and more mind-controlled military robots than I saw in all of Haiti. This covert military operation served its own agenda, not America's. I was told and overheard that it was a base for the future multi-jurisdictional police force for enforcing order and law in the New World Order. In the center of the high-security compound was another well-guarded military fenced area that was regarded as a Camp David of sorts for those running our country. George Bush and Dick Cheney shared an office there and claimed the Outer Perimeter Woods as their own hunting ground where they played a most dangerous game, predicated on conversations I overheard between the two. It was this world police military background that earned Dick Cheney his cabinet appointment as Secretary of Defense with the Bush administration. So the first footnote is, or the only one, Dick Cheney has no official U.S. military history to justify his position as our nation's former defense secretary under President George Bush. That's crazy. Houston stayed at Haggard's Lake Shasta Resort while Kelly and I were helicoptered to Mount Shasta for our scheduled meeting with Bush and Cheney. The helicopter pilot directed our attention to the military fencing surrounding the outer perimeter of the compound. Rarely did pilots ever speak to either of us, but this one smiled wickedly as he told us we would need to know the outer limits for our most dangerous game. Good God. As soon as we arrived at Bush and Cheney's inner sanctum, noticed George Bush Jr. was with them. It was my experience that Jr. stood by his father and covered his backside whenever Bush would become incapacitated from drugs or required criminal backup. It appeared that Jr. was there to serve both purposes while his father and Cheney enjoyed their work vacation. Hyper from drugs, Cheney and Bush were eager to hunt their human prey in a most dangerous game. They greeted me with the rules of the game, ordered me to strip naked despite the cold December winds, and told me in Oz cryptic to beware of the lions and tigers and bears. Kelly's life became the stakes as usual, which resurrected my natural and exaggerated programmed maternal instincts. Tears silently ran down my cheeks as Bush told me, if we catch you, Kelly's mine. So run as fast as you can. I'll get you and your little girl too, because I can, and I will. Cheney, daring me to respond, asked any questions. I said, there's no place to run because there's a fence. The kind I can't get over. I saw it. Rather than physically assault me, Cheney laughed at my sense of nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and explained that a bear had torn a hole in the fence somewhere, and all I had to do was find it. He lowered his rifle to my head and said, let the games begin. Go. Wearing only my tennis shoes, I ran through the trees as fast and as far as I could, which wasn't very far at all. Bush was using his bird dog, to track me. The same one that had recently been used with me in bestiality filming, as BYRD dash DOG, bird dog. Joke on my owner, Robert C. Bird. When caught, Cheney held his gun to my head again as he stood over me, looking warm in his sheepskin coat. Bush ordered me to take his dog sexually while they watched. Then he and Cheney ushered me back to their cabin. I pulled on my clothes and sat in the office part of the cabin awaiting instructions. I had no idea where Kelly was, nor did I in retrospect. Bush and Cheney were still in their hunting clothes when the programming session began. Bush said, you and I are about to embark on a most dangerous game of diplomatic relations. This is my game. You will follow my rules. I will have the distinct advantage of hunting you with my eye in the sky satellite, is in parentheses. I'll watch every move you make. As long as you play the game by my rules and make no mistakes, you live. One mistake and I'll get you, my pretty, and your little girl too. You die and Kelly will have to play with me. Ugh. I prefer it that way. Then it will be her most dangerous game. The cards are stacked in my favor because, well, it's my game. Are you game? There was no choice. I responded as conditioned. Yes, sir. I'm game. The parallels of the most dangerous game that had just occurred in the woods were deliberate and intended to make retrieval of my memory impossible due to the crypto amnesia scrambling. Good. Then let the games begin. Listen carefully to your instructions. You have no room for error. Cheney flipped his game timer, an hourglass. Bush continued. This game is called The King and I. And here's the deal. You will be establishing stronger diplomatic relations according to order between Mexico, the U.S., and the Middle East. Your role will require a change of face at each new place. I'll chart your course to find your role and pull your strings. You'll speak my words when I pull your strings. There's no room for error. Cheney was half lying across the plain military issue-style desk in an apparent drug stupor as Bush talked. Still wearing his hunting coat and hat, Cheney aimed his rifle at me from the desk and threatened, or a hunting we will go. Bush finished Cheney's threat by singing, we'll catch a fox and put her in a box and lower her in a hole. Okay. Bush looked at Cheney and burst out laughing. The sight of him dressed in his hunting clothes with a huge bore double-barreled shotgun to his shoulder inspired Bush to tell him he looked like Elmer Fudd. Cheney, imitating the cartoon character, said, where is that wascally wabbit? Operation The King and I would involve Reagan's #1 envoy, Philip Habib, in parentheses, who cryptically played the Alice in Wonderland role of the White Rabbit with slaves such as myself. and Saudi Arabian King Fahd, F-A-H-D. So when Bush referred to the two as Elmer Fudd and the Wascally Wabbit, he and Cheney laughed until they cried. Since both were already high from drugs anyway, they had a great deal of difficulty maintaining composure long enough to complete my programming. And until tomorrow, don't go hang a gay, good channel, okay? So I mean again.